Hello, this is Michael Novenson with Information Security Media Group. Today I'm joined by Denny LeCompte, CEO of Portnox, to talk about mid-market cybersecurity. Denny, thank you so much here for joining us.
Hey, thank you, Michael.
So I wanted to get a sense for you. I know Portnox really specializes in the mid-market. So what are the biggest differences between the cybersecurity needs of the mid-market and the SMB versus larger enterprises?
So what's interesting about the mid-market is that they have a lot of the same problems as the very largest companies, but what they don't have is the same budgets. They don't have the same staff. So they, unlike the really small guys, usually don't have any dedicated security people. They might outsource, but for the guys in the middle, it's just they are sort of squeezed, and they can't solve the problem the same way by just adding more people, adding more tools. It just won't work.
Got you. So in terms of the mid-market, how are you defining that at Portnox? What do you think of that as?
We think of it as like, let's say 500, 3 to 500 on the low end, maybe 10,000 on the high end where it starts to get fuzzy. We think of it almost not really small guys, and then we think of it as not the Fortune 500, right? Like we can handle and we try to serve customers on the high end of the mid-market, but it's not the largest folks that maybe most of the people in the cybersecurity market are trying to get to the very large financial institutions and the kind of multinational companies. A lot of our other customers, Portnox sells to, you've never heard of them, but they might make a few $100 million a year. They're still they're significant businesses. They're very distributed often, but again, they can't afford the same level of security spend.
What's different about selling to a company that has either no internal IT staff or a very small IT staff? What do they need?
It's very different than a large enterprise. If you're selling to somebody with no IT staff, our recommendation to customers who come to us and they're very small is to work with a managed security service provider. MSSPs have all the security knowledge. It's almost like time sharing a security team that you can't afford yourself. We partner with our product, we partner with those MSSPs, and then they deliver the product for the very smaller customers who are just maybe a couple hundred people in the company. For the mid-market, they want to do it themselves. They need to do it themselves in a lot of cases. But what they really are looking for is a product that has a lot of features, that is fully functional, but it is really high on usability. And a lot of the stuff that you will see in the security market, it's super full of features, but it's assuming that you've got like a team of people to babysit it and make it go. And the mid-market doesn't want any of that. They will take less functionality as long as it solves the problem, and it's just low hassle. And that's for Portnox, that's what we focus on.
Absolutely. So when if you're a mid-market customer and you're trying to evaluate which product would be simple, what are some of the things you should be looking for or considering when trying to determine which product would be simple for your team?
Probably the number one thing to look at is the delivery mechanism. Are they asking you to install an appliance or a virtual appliance or something that you're going to have to put into your data center, and then you're responsible for setting it up, configuring it, and maintaining it, and ensuring that it is high availability? What we recommend, where we've gone, is that we, deliver it by cloud, so that you don't have to have anything on-prem. You just basically pay us, and we will take care of this for you. And I've used to be a usability engineer. There's very little when you're thinking about how to make something usable. Just make the problem go away. Like have somebody do it for you. That's probably the biggest jump in usability, is just invisibility. And so that's why a lot of folks go to cloud, is it just solves the problem for you. You don't worry about updates, you don't worry about installations.
That makes sense. And for a mid-market customer, what do they be thinking of in terms of features and functions? What are some of the features and functions they want to make sure they still have? And what are some capabilities that maybe are too advanced or too resource intensive to handle?
I mean, one of the things you need to think about with mid-market security is, of the many tools, like all these categories of security, what are you going to focus on? The kind of the guidance we give to customers is, look, you're going to need some sort of endpoint antivirus kind of product. You're going to need some sort of firewall. And then we strongly recommend that they have network access control, because you need to control who's going to get onto your network. And then when they get on the network, do you know who they are, and are their devices safe? So like our product will make sure that you're running that antivirus, that you have your firewall on, that you're fully patched up, so that the device that's on your network is sort of meets the standard. So that's kind of the way to think about where you should spend your money, what should you focus on. There will be 20 other tools you could buy, but you have to be realistic about, do you have time to deploy it? Are you going to be able to use that tool? So we also kind of focus on hygiene aspects of security rather than threat hunting and figuring out what went wrong. Is really focus on layers of defense that you can set up, and then for the most part just ignore them. Right? They'll get the job done. It doesn't require you as a security professional to be in there managing it all day, every day.
I see. So for those mid-market customers, what do you find is the most common thing that the Chief Information Security Officer is overlooking when it comes to putting together their strategy?
A lot of times they really are ignoring kind of access and who can get on the network and what can they do when they're on the network, because that's they are there's more than just setting up a perimeter. You really need to have multiple layers, and so they often are just kind of ignoring that the aspect of which endpoints are on my network, who is that, are they the right people, and then also we find a lot of folks are not taking into account kind of Internet of Things, because it's great to focus on identity, but that's not really going to help you when you've got a bunch of cameras and TVs, and like we have all these customers, and it's surprising, just even mid-sized customers, how many IoT devices are on their network, and they don't really have control over it, which ones can and can't get on. And when they think about it, it does cause them a lot of anxiety, because it's a great kind of avenue for a bad guy to get in, sort of masquerading as an IoT device.
I see. One final question for you. What's the biggest area of investment for Portnox in the year ahead? Where are you really looking to focus in your resources?
Look, two things. One, we are a small company that has recently opened up offices in North America. We are expanding our go-to-market because we're just trying to get people to know we exist. We've talked to a lot of customers, and they know they need network access control. They know they want it in the cloud. They just didn't know that was a thing. And we're really the only player on the market that's doing that. So we're spending a lot of our time just making people aware that we can do this, help them solve this problem. And then we're always investing in engineering. We want to be the best possible network access control product out there. And so we're always hiring more engineers to add layers of security to the product.
Absolutely. Well, Denny, thank you so much for coming by the studio and talking about the needs of the mid-market.
Thanks, Michael.
We've been speaking with Denny LeCompte, CEO of Portnox, about mid-market cybersecurity at RSA Conference 2022. For iSMG, this is Michael Novenson. Have a great day.